redo our process. We're going to look into it very well. I'm not saying that it is wrong. What they did is definitely within the limits, and we all consented that it should be done that way, because we are working on the short-term intervention strategy, and Jabang has been the attention for almost everybody.
Lamin Kunjame, the Minister of Information, and Siaka Sonko, Minister of Interior, both joined their cabinet colleague in giving reassurances that the government remains committed to the welfare of its people. Victims such as Ansumana Dabo and Abbasba, who both welcomed the visit by the ministerial delegation, suggest that the exercise could have been done peacefully if there had been proper engagement and dialogue prior to the demolitions by the Physical Planning Department, a notice of which they received just 3 days prior. They strongly condemned the conduct and disregard to their feelings of the demolishing officers.
But I understand some of these decisions, it's not the politicians. Sometimes it is us, the technicians. If we advise you very well, we can do it easily.
Irrespective what decision the government will take on the matter, they strongly denounced any compensation below the value of their structures, many believed to be worth millions of dollars, and took several years to build on plots allocated to occupants by the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. The corporation's new managing director, Salum Malang, expressed remorse with what their clients are going through, while assuring them that his office is working on a major intervention to address the problem. He confirmed that plots were allocated in other places, such as Brusubi, through the same procedure.
A study was conducted, sponsored by Social Security. The report was prepared and submitted to come up with a final drainage for the Jabang estate. The money involved was too much, so it was forwarded to Minister of Finance for assistance through the Greenhouse project budget.
Ansu Fati, the principal housing officer with the Department of Physical Planning, said the demolition is in response to what he described as an emergency situation.
If we don't do it like this, it may lead to a catastrophe. That is why we said, look, let's go there and then make sure that all those who are sitting on the waterway are removed.
But why now? I mean, like they said, I mean, some of them, it took them like 10 years to construct their houses. Why did it take you this far to...
I think this is a year when we have more rainfall. Yeah, because this will have, they have been living here, but we have not been hearing such complaints.
It is unclear how long they will be allowed to continue living here, but for now, they await the next action from government with justifiable anxiety. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
The 2022 WAS result, which has highlighted the general low performance of candidates, has raised public concern over the quality and relevance of Gambia's education system, with many calling for reform of the academic curriculum and a holistic transformation of the sector. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi has been speaking to educational experts and stakeholders, and this is the report.
Education is recognized as a crucial pillar for national development. But when it is poor and irrelevant, the prospects of a country's sustainable development will be bleak. For many in the Gambia, the quality of education is dropping alarmingly, with a curriculum that does not match our development needs. Taburama LJ Jame is a retired director of curriculum at MOPSI.
So my message is that technical and vocational education has to be mainstream within our senior secondary school structure. And my second message is that education is not cheap. There must be investment in education for us to yield the benefit.
The Gambia's education curriculum has been assessed as having a wrong and narrow focus. According to research by this retired curriculum director, this leads students to miss out on their areas of interest and talents, eventually impeding their performance in exams. Given this, reforming the curriculum must be addressed. Dr. Cherno Omar Bari is an education consultant.
If you look at the education policy, it is well detailed. There are a lot of things that have been put there. The ministries have been trying, the two ministries of education, have been trying their best to implement some of these policies. Implementing policy requires funds. I'm not very sure they have all that it requires financially to invest in these policies. And that is where the challenges also comes in.
The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education appears to be attuned to some of the problems facing our education sector, particularly the urgent need for curriculum reform. The MOPSI Permanent Secretary, Louis Moses Mendy, reveals plans to implement education curriculum reforms.
The curriculum has been reviewed and expanded to include some missing elements. We continue to cry, for example, for fish every time there's a feast when those who do fishing are out to their villages. So we've introduced things like aquaculture. So in science, for example, you have Science 1, Science 2, Science 3. So that Science 1 looks at the core science areas, the physics, the chemistry, the mathematics, further maths, and so on and so forth, just to be able to take you to areas of discipline like being a medical doctor, engineering, either mechanical, applied, civil, or automotive, as you may.
At the grassroots, there remain perennial challenges facing the education sector, such as inadequate resources in schools, lack of parental guidance and monitoring of students, among a host of factors. This tells of the collective responsibility of education stakeholders, and one glaring factor must be addressed is the quality of teachers.
The standard of the teachers, the caliber of teachers enrolled by the Gambia College, trained and sent in those schools is another thing. I believe they are not well prepared to come and teach, not in the professional aspect, the professional method, but the academics itself. Most of the teachers, academically, obviously, they have problem. They have problem. You can know that when they write letters to you as an admin, you can see those little faults in their writings.
Reforming the education sector demands a stated priority for the government. Without prioritizing investment in education, implementing a constitutional requirement for free, compulsory and accessible quality basic education for every Gambian will remain a fantasy, never to be attained. Mahmoud Lamin Chai, QTV News.
The Gambia Revenue Authority GRA on Wednesday commenced a two-day seminar for 30 students and staff from the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute on the mandates of the GRA to improve understanding of tax administration, matters for taxpayers and stakeholders. Loli M. Camara has more.
As part of efforts to establish a mutual relationship between the Gambia Revenue Authority and its taxpayers, the authority has organized a two-day seminar for staff and students of the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute, GTHI, to educate them on the mandate of the Gambia Revenue Authority, the Gambia's tax system, revenue laws administered by the GRA, and some of the reforms being implemented by the authority. Usman Bah, the GRA's head of corporate and public affairs, representing the Commissioner General, said the capacity building is part of the GRA's strategic plan 2020-2024 goals to optimize client service delivery for improved customer relations and corporate image. In other words, it is to engage, educate and sensitize all stakeholders to educate their understanding of the significance of tax revenue and its contribution to national development programs. He therefore urged the participants to fully participate and ask questions relating to tax.
You know, all the roads and all the development projects that you see around are largely funded by taxpayers' money. Even if we take a loan, we take a loan in the name of collecting revenue from the people and plow it back to the people. To you participants, I kindly urge you to make this session interactive, like as alluded to by the Deputy Director General earlier on. Make it interactive, make it lively, be participatory. At the end of the day, it is for us.
Mamadou Singate, the GTHI's Deputy Director General, says the capacity building seminar is another milestone for the institution, adding it will give students a chance to be aware of their tax obligations for further employment. Mr. Singate then gave this advice to the participants.
This is a rare opportunity. They have to make a maximum use of the opportunity. It's a 2 days interactions. And during this period, they will be having the opportunity to talk to experts in various tax sections. So they have the opportunity to ask questions and make it as interactive as possible, make it as lively as possible, and clear their doubts, all their doubts on tax payment and tax obligations.
Dai Binta Sohna, a professional cookery student, explains the significance for her.
I feel honored. This is a great opportunity for me and my classmates because we are young entrepreneurs. We have lots of questions, especially when it comes to tax paying, because we would want to own our own business in the future, obviously. So we would want to know about how all this tax works. we all know about the tax complainants. Where is the tax money going? Why are we paying tax? So we have a lot of questions to ask. So this is a very great opportunity for me, especially.
This seminar is being supported by UNDP through the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs under the project Support to Strengthen Capacities of National Institutions responsible for economic management and evidence-based policy, planning and budgeting to achieve inclusive growth and poverty reduction in the Gambia. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
Time to take a break, and when we come back, still more news will continue. International sports news and other stories.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with partners, will be embarking on an other countrywide COVID-19 vaccination campaign from 11 to 28 August 2022. Vaccination teams will be deployed to public places such as community bantabas, health facilities, schools, markets, crossing points, and other strategic locations. All eligible people aged 12 and above are encouraged to come out and be vaccinated. Vaccination teams will be administering 3 types of vaccines, namely Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Sinopharm, all of which are safe and effective in preventing severe COVID-19 infection, hospitalization, and death. For more information, call the ministry's toll-free number 1025.
Have you been looking for the perfect indoor router with long-range Wi-Fi coverage and faster internet speed connecting all your smart devices? Well, we present to you the QCell Indoor Router, a router that has all you need and much more. For just $4,275, you can get 4G plus internet speed, wide coverage, and connect up to 15 devices. And that's not all. The indoor router can be used for both office and home needs. So, enhance your internet experience with our indoor router. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunubus, we innovate, others follow.
Welcome back, and thank you very much if you're just joining us. This is QTV News. 15 media chiefs benefited from a day-long forum on Tuesday organized by the Gambia Press Union GPU in partnership with the Media Council of the Gambia to raise public awareness on the mandate and functions of the Media Council of the Gambia. Lolly M. Camera again.
With funding from Denmark Civil Society for Development, CISU, the objective is to engage media managers on the ethics of the journalism profession, their duty to the public, and the role of the Media Council in the Gambia, MCG. The MCG was established by the Gambia Press Union in December 2018 as an independent self-regulatory mechanism for addressing public complaints against the conduct of journalists. Welcoming the participants, the MCG's chairman, Babukar Cham, said it is important to bring together key players, including media chiefs, editors, publishers, and others to discuss issues pertaining to the welfare of media practitioners in the Gambia. Mr. Cham highlighted issues such as the fake news and bad reporting as major factors to be addressed.
Overall, this put high expectations on our commitment to mitigate the sad tendencies of modern times. In effect, esteemed colleagues, nowadays, some important segments of our society are swimming in the agitated sea of confusion, taking very often the uncomfortable and inconvenient reporting as fake news. This is a problem.
Mohamed Esba, the president of the Gambia Press Union, emphasized the media's key role in the peace and stability of the country, citing the GPU's research on hate speech, which shows that the media have been used as a platform to peddle hate speech, which he believes is dangerous. He called on media heads to put in a self-regulatory mechanism for media houses.
And I'm hoping that in the long run, the Media Council will look into having accreditation for practicing journalists, for practicing media workers. Though, the media is very diverse. It's very difficult to regulate it because other people who are practicing other professions can even practice journalism. But I think there is also a need to regulate it, because we don't want government to start regulating the media, which is subjected to abuse.
Julden Jai, the editor-in-chief at Paradise TV, says the forum is timely, considering so many things shared on the social media.
We really have to engage media partners or media chiefs in order for us to really come up with a solution as to what is going on in the country. And I think it's a very important forum where we will exchange ideas and see how best we can actually mitigate this bad journalism and, of course, citizen journalism in the country here.
Ms. Njai then outlined her next steps.
Make sure that my journalists are actually well equipped. They are really professional in the way they're doing things, and of course they're very, very much ethical, because we know that ethical journalism is a big problem in this country.
Part of this project seeks to strengthen the Media Council of the Gambia and consolidate the self-regulation of the Gambia media. It will also seek to raise public awareness on the mandate and functions of the Media Council of the Gambia as the independent regulator of the media. MCG Chairman Babukar Cham said the Media Council will ensure media practitioners and journalists always abide by the ethics of their profession. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamar.
The end of that report takes us to international news. A group of Kenyans who were forcefully evicted from their land by British settlers during colonial rule filed a suit against the British government at the European Court of Human Rights, calling for an investigation and eventual compensation for land stolen under colonial rule. Omar P. Jallo has the rest of the details.
The Kenyans are seeking an investigation and redress for crimes they say were committed in western Kenya's Kericho region, now one of the most important in the world for tea production. Kenya is the world's leading exporter of black tea by quantity, according to the International Trade Center. The petitioners say some of the world's wealthiest tea companies, household names like Unilever, Williamson Tea, Phillips and Lipton, occupy and farm these lands and continue to use them to generate considerable profits. The group's lawyer, Joel Kimute Bosik, told the media that these atrocities started in 1902 all the way to 1963, and the UK has been avoiding the matter whenever it has been brought up for years now, and that is the reason they went to the court to file a lawsuit. 1963 is when Kenya gained independence from Britain. However, lodging the case at the European Court of Human Rights does not mean the court will hear the case, but will decide on its admissibility before making a decision. The crimes the UK is being accused of having committed during the colonial era include forced eviction from ancestral lands. In 2021, 6 UN special rapporteurs wrote a joint communiqué expressing their concern at the alleged lack of accountability and effective remedy for the victims of gross human rights violations committed against the Kipsigis and Tale people of Kericho country. In response, the UK government said it had already issued a public apology and settlement in 2013 of claims made by the Kenyans who lived through the emergency period and the More insurgency from 1952 to 1963. However, the Kipsigis and Tale maintained that the case the British government referred to in its response is a separate case. The British government has rarely apologized or offered redress for crimes committed during its colonial period. However, in 2013, it agreed a multi-million-dollar compensation settlement for Kenyan tortured by British soldiers during an uprising that occurred shortly before the end of colonial rule. Meanwhile, there has been an accusation of a wider set of gross human rights violations committed against the clans, including unlawful killing, sexual violence, torture and arbitrary detention and displacement. In May of this year, a group of more than 100,000 Kenyans from the Tale clan wrote to Prince William to seek an apology as well as his support for reparations. The United Nations has said more than 500,000 Kenyans from the Kericho area suffered gross violations of human rights, including unlawful killings and displacement during British colonial rule. After 6 decades of independence, many in that part of Kenya continue to suffer economic consequences from the theft of their land, according to the United Nations. UK officials have yet to comment on this lawsuit. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Well, that takes us to sports news. A volleyball camp was organized in Farafenni on Sunday to sensitize the youth on the dangers of irregular migration and discourage them from embarking on the so-called backway journey. Don Williams reports.
Various speakers at the event encouraged youths to make it in the Gambia and dissuade them from embarking on the risky irregular migration journey, which is a huge problem in the Gambia. Ayib Gay of the Migration Information Center and the National Youth Council explained the main objective of the event.
It will be good for me to give you the genesis of the Migration Information Center in Bara. It is the fourth office established by NYC and IOM in partnership to curb irregular migration. And we have this type of offices in LRR, West Coast, URR, and North Bank. Our core objective is to raise awareness on irregular migration, to collect data on migration, and to do referrals.
Modulamin Jain, former ward councillor for Farafenni Ward and coordinator of the event, also spoke about the importance of the event.
One of the things that is lacking in Gambian, sports, because we have observed that Gambian sports has all the time been very biased, towards football. This is one attempt that we are doing to popularize other disciplines, in the regions apart from football. This is why we have gone out of our way to make sure that we organize this volleyball, clinic. At least summer camp for one day with support from MIC, that is Migration Information Center. They gave us food support. The rest of the logistics, were given to us by philanthropists. And I also think that this is something that is very, very important, because bringing youths together, to talk to them, discuss about sports. And at the same time talk about important topics like illegal migration, sports for peace, sports for development.
He also explained why they chose volleyball and not another sporting discipline.
I believe I was in football for decades, in Farafenni. Upon handing the baton over to the upcoming generation, we decided to go into other sporting disciplines like volleyball, because we have noticed that there is virtually very little volleyball going on, not only in Farafenni but right across the region.
Khadijatu A. Jallo, a volleyball player, shares her opinion and advises the youths.
It's well migrate. Even they say migrate, so we have to migrate now. We learn also about these people who used to go back ways. The torture they used to make to them, so it's not easy. So I'm advising them to maintain in their country. Let them not go to these bad ways. Let them.
One of the best young players in Farafenni, Abdullah Gay, a former footballer, says volleyball is now his favorite sport.
Volleyball is a nice game and I like it. It's my future. I want to be a future player tomorrow. That's why I play for volleyball. I was playing football, but I have left football. Now I'm playing volleyball. I continue to play volleyball.
Arafang Diba, a returnee who addressed the youths, shares his experiences of using the so-called backway and encourage youths to venture into skills training. Don Williams, reporting for QTV News from Farafenni.
We've completely been knocked out of the studio by time, and thank you very much for watching. Join us again at 10 for another news bulletin.